Hey guys, welcome back to the AWS Cloud Demos. So in today's demo, this is the part 4 of API Gateway plus Lambda integration. So in the previous video, like in part 3, we have created this calculator function. So we return the output based on the operation that we receive. For example, if it is add, we return adding up these two operands. As we discussed in the previous video of part 3, if you have not seen the video of part 3, please go ahead and watch these videos in the series, so this series will make sense. Otherwise, if you land up directly in part 4, you will not be able to follow what I was trying to teach in the lambda integration, right? Please follow these videos in the series, and then that will make sense for you. All right, so if you guys like my videos, please give it a like, subscribe, share, and comment down in the comment section below. I would really appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for following my videos so far, and please encourage me so that I will do more videos like so. Okay, and without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video of part 4 of API integration with Lambda, right? So in the previous video, as I said, we have created this lambda function. Based on this operation, we get the output, right? So now because our lambda is ready, we'll go back to the API gateway that we have created in the previous video. So just search for API gateway, or what you could do is simply add the shortcuts over here and click on the API gateway like so. Go back to the API gateway. If you remember, in part 1 we have created this REST API series. So if you go back to the REST API series and click on the post method, right? So what we're going to do in today's video is we will create the validation for the input that we send from the API gateway to the lambda, right? So we will add a validator model so that whatever the input that you're trying to send to the lambda, that will be validated at the API gate level. So it is not even sent to the lambda, because the validation happens at the API gateway level. All right, and also we will create a mapping model, which is in the integration request, basically which converts or which transforms the input data that you're trying to send from the API gateway to the lambda, that transforms the way the lambda is expecting, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and create a validation model for our method request, and then also we will create a mapping model for our integration request. Okay, so for now, let's go to the method request. And if you look into the settings, right, in the in the method request, right, and so you have the method request validator here. So the thing that you're gonna do is you need to select the validate body, because you need to validate the request from the API gateway, right? So if you select the validate body and click on this tick, probably in your case it might be like in none, but please change it to validate body, okay, like so, and create and click on the tick. And what you're going to do is go back to the models here. Okay, so I hope you can see this, or let me zoom this a bit. Okay, so the models, so click on models, and there's no model at the moment. Okay, so I have created a validation model for my request. All right, so click on create. So my model name is calci validator model. Okay, so this is the validator model, and the content type is application/json, and the description, you can put any description that you want. I simply copy the model name and give the description like so. And then the validator model has a syntax. Okay, so if you are coming from a programming background, you will understand what a model is. But if you're not coming from a programming background, you can imagine model as a schema. Okay, so that whatever the data that you're trying to send from the API gateway, right, when you test the post request, so the data that you send in the request body should be as per this schema. Okay, that's what it is trying to say. Okay, so that request body should contain name1 and name2. As you can see here in the required field, we have num1 and num2 is required for our API gateway to work with lambda. So that's why I put num1 and num2 inside the required attribute. Okay, so these are the properties, which is num1 and num2, which is of type number, because our API gateway is sending numbers to the lambda so that an operation can be done on these numbers. Okay. So now that once you create this validator model, just go ahead and I will put this schema in my GitHub account. I will please click the link in the description box below so that you will be able to copy this schema, and then you can copy and paste it here. Okay, all right. Go and now that you have created, you can see this little information box. To navigate away from the code editor, you go ahead and click on create model. Once you're happy with this, click on create model, like so. Now that you have created a calc validator model, okay, go back to the resources, and in the post method, right, you go to the method request. Okay, and then well, you have already added the request validator to validate the body, but you need to also mention the validator model. Okay, so in the request body, right, click on add model. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the request body. Okay, in the method execution of post, click post. You will be on this screen, and select the validate body and come to the request body and click on the add model, and the type of data is application/JSON, and in the model name you go ahead and select the Galaxy validator model. So click on the validator model and click on this little tick. You should be able to update the content type, so that now you have set up the calculator Calci validator model. What it's going to do is whenever you test the function, right, like for example, if you go back to the method execution screen and click on test. Okay, so the operation is add, and the operands, you remember the format of testing this API is num1, and you need to send the body something like any number that you want, and which should be of type number, right? Go to num2 and then select some other number like 69 or something, and now if you go ahead and click on test, right, this should work as expected. Okay, so basically that is expecting event.inputs, but we haven't done any mapping model yet. So what I'm going to do is go back to the method execution. We will test it at some point later, but for now go back to this screen. When you select the post, right, so you will land on this method execution screen. Go to the integration request. Okay, and also you check the mapping model. So there is no mapping model here, that's why our lambda threw an error, right? So for this I'm going to go ahead and go to models again and click on create. I'm going to create a calculator mapping model this time. Okay, which is calc mapping model, and which is of type application/JSON, and then simply copy this, and I'm going to put something like calc mapping model, which is a short description for my model. All right, and then I have already created a model for you guys, and you can simply copy paste from my GitHub AWS snippets. I will share the link below in the description box. So basically what we are trying to do here is we have created the calculator model, mapping model, and we have the properties, right? First the property is operation. If you remember correctly from the lambda, we have event.operation, so we need to send the operation which is of type string. It could be any of types like add, multiply, subtract, or divide. You can put it inside the operation, and also the inputs, the lambda expects inputs. So if you're not sure, then if you go to lambda again, I'm going to click or right click on open up in a new tab. Okay, and go to the lambda functions. There are two functions here. This is my calc function. This is where I have my event.operation. So if you open up, so you can see event.inputs and operand 1 and operand 2. So we are retrieving, we are destructuring. Okay, this is ES6 language, ECMAScript 6 language in JavaScript. So we are basically destructuring operand 1, operand 2 from event.inputs. Okay, so basically our mapping model should contain something like inputs, operand 1, operand 2, and operation. So that's what we are trying to put it inside our model schema. Okay, so our property should contain operation. As I said, we need to have inputs, we need to have operand 1, operand 2. Operand 1 and operand 2 are of type numbers, as you have seen in the previous model schema. Okay, and this is required, and we need to send this as part of JSON. And then we have inputs, which is of type object, and we have operation, which is of type string. and we need input, operation, and inputs. Okay, this is the required fields. All right, so this is the model schema for calculator mapping model, and we will see how we will use this calculator mapping model in our integration template. Okay, so go ahead and click on create model. So now that you have created a mapping model like so, go back to the stage, go back to the resources and click on post like we did previously. And now if you open up the integration request, right, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, click on mapping templates, and now you're gonna add a mapping template which is of type. So click on this mapping, add mapping model, then you should be able to see the content type here, and then you should be able to type it out like so, application/JSON. Click on this little tick and you should be able to see our general template window again. So previously we have entered ourselves, right? Now you can select the template from here, which is of KLC mapping model. So you can see we have this template ready. Now the input is nothing but input root, okay, and then op1, op2, and operation. So now that we are now transforming that num1 and num2 into the lambda expected format. Okay, so go to the operation and click remove this foo from here, because that is the default one. You remember we have created a something like input dot dollar input dot params, and we put operation inside that, so it still remains the same because this is a path param, and this is how you're gonna access the path param. All right, so that is correct. And then in the inputs operand 1, right? So you remember if we have used something like input dot root input dot json of dollar dot num1, okay, but now what we're going to do is we are going to use something like input root, because this is where we need to, this is what we need to use, this is the in root path. So now go ahead and replace your input with input root, and also copy that and just put it here, and this is the num2 because this is operand 2. Yeah, I think that looks good. And now go ahead and click on save like so, and just click on save. Please make sure that your mapping template is something like this, and go ahead and go back to the method execution screen again, and on this screen you go ahead and click on test and type your operation that I wanted to do, add, and now go ahead and put our num1 and num2, which is of type number, and num2 which is of type number again. I put some numbers, I put just random numbers. You can test it with any numbers that you want, and go ahead and see. So now what? So we have could not parse the request body into JSON, could not parse the payload into JSON. Okay, so there's something wrong over here. Okay, let's see what is wrong over there. Maybe we have already have our JSON, right? So if you go back to the method execution, all right, and then click on integration request, and if you go all the way to the bottom, maybe you should just put something like num1. Okay, you don't need the JSON, I think, because that was when we used with dollar input, but with dollar input root we already have the path, right? So you just need to access the num1 from it, and also num2. I think that should be it. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. Click on save down below. Okay, once it is saved, go back to the method execution, okay, and click on test again, and you can choose any operation that you want and numbers that you want, and go ahead and click on test. Now what it does, okay, so now that the request is successful, now you're able to see the body from our lambda into the API gateway. Okay, so please correct that in your template, so that you should be able to see the result like what I'm getting here. Okay, and for testing the validation, right, so go ahead and remove something like num1 and put some empty string. Okay, so this is not a valid number, obviously, and now our API gateway should stop the num1 should stop the request, because you're sending an invalid data, okay, and data type. And now go ahead and click on test. Let's see what, okay, so you get an error now because it is being validated because the body is invalid. So, and now go ahead and put some number again, which is 765, and go ahead and click on test. You should be able to get the output. Yeah, that is correct, and you should be able to send any operation that you want. Let's say I want to multiply these two numbers, click on test, and go ahead and click on test and go ahead and look at the result. Yeah, so there you go. It works. And also what if you do not send a num1? Okay, and also let's test this. Okay, let's go ahead and test invalid request, and now go ahead and put num1 again. I'm gonna put something like 9 and go ahead and test it again. Invalid request. Okay, maybe because I did not put a comma over here, and click on test. So there you go. Now you get the result back. I hope you get the idea, right? So once you're happy with this, we have done validation of our schema, the API gateway schema, and we have done a mapping model for our lambda with API integration. We have created models, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and comment in the section below. And thank you so much for watching my videos, and please watch out for my next video. This is part 4, and I'm gonna do a part 5 of this, and we will discuss about testing this API in the Postman, and then we will move forward into exporting these APIs into a Swagger. We'll create documentation and etc. Okay, I hope thank you, and I will see you guys in the part 5. Thank you.